You've heard me talking a lot about stock photography so far, and I've touched on starting a YouTube channel. But this year I set myself the goal of testing out 10 to 12 photography-related income streams, and ones that I could do primarily from home. And since it's halfway through the year already, I thought I'd get on here and share some of them in case there's any that you wanted to get started by Christmas yourself. Ultimately, I really want to do lifestyle branding for small artisanal businesses. But right now, as a homeschooling mum, I need to be home-based, while also continuing to do what I love at the capacity that I can and improve my skills and not get stagnant. Now, some of these are short-term income options, especially leading up to Christmas, but many of these are long-term income options. And the beauty of them is that you can be relatively new to photography, but still start to earn an income as you're learning. So let's jump into the 12 that I'm trying out this year. We can discuss what level you need to be at for each one and how each one can up-level you in a specific area of your journey. And stick around to the end and I'll share some of the options I chose not to do this year and why I chose not to do them. But that's not to say that they might not work for you. So let's get into it. One of the best things about stock photography is that it's great even for beginners. The only thing you really need to know before you get started is the basics of composition and also understanding that this isn't where you develop your own personal editing style. Stock photography really requires the most minimal amount of editing, which is why it's actually great for people beginning as well. It has to be just clear and sharp and tends towards being well exposed. It's also a great place to learn how to tidy up your images, both in the creation phase and in post-processing. You'll learn to see small details in the creation phase because trust me, after a while you'll be going, oh, I've got to do that in post and I'll have to fix that in post. So you do start to pick up more small details during that early phase. The beauty of this is that you can do this around your kids or around other commitments that you have in your life. And the only thing restricting you is how much time you have to put into it. And the other great thing about this is that there's no client to answer to. This is your schedule and you do it when and how you can fit it in. Number 2 is stock videography, and I am still getting into that myself. Videography is actually quite different to photography, but while doing it side by side with the stock photography, it's really teaching me to look for video options as well as the photographic ones. Also, the more I do it, the more natural it becomes to alter settings on the fly while I'm doing things. So I can take better advantages of just flipping backwards and forwards between taking photos and taking videos where I can. Also, videos sell for much higher on stock platforms, and in today's day and age of so much video content, it's in quite high demand. And again, this is something you can do at your own pace around your own schedule. And if you're wanting to be a photographer in another area, like wedding photography or branding photography, having the ability to seamlessly switch between photos and videos could allow you some more flexibility in what you're providing to your clients in the future. It could well be the tipping factor of why a client chooses you over another photographer. It might help you, for example, if you're going to be a wedding photographer, to get small snippets of behind the scenes of everybody getting ready. Or if you're doing branding, for instance, you could get, again, behind the scenes of your clients so that they can use it in Reels or TikTok or on their YouTube. Number 3 is AI stock. Now, you're currently only able to sell AI created imagery on Adobe, but the insane advances that have happened in AI just in the last year, 2 years alone is just insane. This is going to become a part of our lives, just like email has become part of our lives and Facebook has become part of our lives. AI is going to be that next step. So if you're wanting to get on this wave before it goes, now is the time to do it. And the thing about AI created imagery is there's actually no barrier to entry. You don't need a flash camera or any camera at all. You can just go online, create the images, and then upload them to Adobe. And you might be going, yeah, but how does that fall into photography? Well, think about it this way. You can still work on all the essentials of photography. You can still work on your colors, your composition, what you put in the photo, or image in this particular instance. So don't feel like, well, it's not helping my photography, because actually it is. Learning to design the way that you want to make a photograph is just as important as getting all the settings right to be able to take it the way that you see it. Okay, so 4, 5, 6, and 7 kind of fall more into a marketing category rather than the income that comes from those category, if that makes sense. So I'm talking about having a YouTube channel, which feeds into a blog, which feeds into a newsletter, which can also feed into your social medias if you wanted to. I'm a big fan of working smarter, not harder at this point in my life. And after years of wondering, how do the big creators do it all? Like, they just seem to be everywhere. How do they possibly do it all? When you start to group things together, you really start to see how everything intertwines and how you can produce more than you think you could. Think about it this way. Let's say you've got 3 kids. You wouldn't go to school, pick up one child and take them to activity, and then come back to school and pick up another child and take them to that activity, and then come back and pick up the third and take them to another activity. You would pick up all 3 kids, drop one at soccer, one at swimming, and one in gymnastics. And then you would go and do the grocery shopping. And while you're doing the grocery shopping, you'd get dinner sorted, and you'd buy that card for Great Aunt Petunia that's turning 96 this weekend. And then you'd go back and get the kids. Now, as parents, we don't think twice about organizing our day like that so that we can fit everything in. And it's not like Great Aunt Petunia is going to be mad at you because you didn't take the time to go down to the card shop just to buy her the card. She's going to be grateful that you bought a card for her. And it's the same thing with all of the social media and all of the marketing that now comes along with running a business these days. If you don't work smarter, then you're gonna end up burning out before you even get a chance to get going. So for example, I make a script for my YouTubes. That script then gets cut and pasted basically into my blog, and then I alter a few bits to make it appropriate for my blog. I often use that then for social media posts and for the basis of the newsletter that I'm writing. So essentially I'm doing one round of work and then I'm just refining it for the other platforms. Right, so getting into those things. Number 4 is paid client work. Now there's a few ways a YouTube channel can be great for you as a photographer, but an often overlooked part of it is the fact that potential clients can actually get some behind the scenes of what it's like to work with you. One of the hardest parts about choosing anybody to work with in life is often wondering if you're going to have the right fit. So having that little behind the scenes gives somebody an idea as to whether or not they're even going to like your personality, for starters. So if you're a maternity photographer or a brand photographer or a stay-at-home product photographer, it can still give potential clients a way to see behind the scenes. And even though client work wasn't one of my top priorities this year, it's definitely something that I want to be focusing on over the next couple of years. So starting this channel, I know will have a flow-on effect to that. Number 5, AdSense from YouTube is a long-term income goal, and one that I know I won't probably specifically be hitting this year. Although my goal is to be monetized by the end of the year because that's a target that I set myself, that's really up to how good my content is and how much I connect with you guys and whether or not that you guys even like my content really. Right now, I'm making content about things that I love to talk about and my experiences thus far, but I know that eventually if I want to grow on the platform, I will need to up-level my strategy a little bit. Plus, I'm well aware that while some people earn like 6 figures from YouTube, the majority of people are probably earning a couple of dollars here and there. And that's another reason that I think if you're gonna be throwing yourself into something when you start a new business or when you start a YouTube channel or anything like that, it's really important to consider the multiple angles and the multiple ways that it can work for you, not just have one specific target in mind. Because if you're just aiming for AdSense, there are so many variables that could throw you out. So it's important to have an overall strategy, not just a singular one. And if you're wondering if starting a photography-based YouTube channel is right for you, check, I don't know which side I'm meant to be pointing to, but I'll put the link up here and I'll put the link in the description to my last video, which was all about starting a YouTube as a photographer. Now, number 6, because I can count still, I'm right. Along the same lines as AdSense, I'd like to be able to bring some money in through affiliate marketing, which I know for some people is kind of, it feels a little cheap. It feels a little, I don't know what the word is. I'm gonna use the word sleazy, that's not really the right thing. But here's the thing, when you get good at something, inevitably somebody's gonna want to pick your brain. I don't know about you, but I know in the past that for other things that I've done, I've asked people, can I take you out to lunch and pick your brain over something because I'd like to learn something new. So think of affiliate marketing more like a payback on time given. So if I'm sitting here and I'm telling you guys about a product that I use or a service that I use or a platform that I do my work on, then essentially I'm giving a little bit of time, and the money that you get back can end up being the cost of a cup of coffee or sometimes more than that. It's also really dependent on the type of content that you're making and if sharing something is right to share with your audience. I think that's the thing. It feels sleazy if it's not in line with what you would naturally be talking to somebody else about anyway. And if you have a blog, you can always add those links in there as well. Number 7 is learning resources. Here's the thing. We always want to learn. People are always going to want to learn, and people are always going to want to learn in different ways from different people, and they're going to want to learn different things at different stages in their life. And then from a creator's point of view, we have ways that we'd prefer to create. We might enjoy doing video, or we might enjoy doing written. We might want to write a book, or we might want to create an entire series for someone to go through. We might be able to provide PDFs, or we might be able to provide a 12-month mastermind. And just like in last week's video where I was talking about how different people like different YouTubers and different TV shows, we also like different teachers and different ways of being taught. So I love to talk about photography and videography and YouTube, but I also have experience in things like design and marketing and branding and administration and system setup and things like that. And I'd love to put together some resources for other photographers based on some of the other skills that I have available. I like the idea of having a subscription system where there's one topic a month and there's a Facebook group to talk about it, and then everybody supports each other and answers each other's questions. Those are the kind of spaces that I love being in. And those are the kind of spaces that I'd love to create for other photographers. And before you think, oh, but there's a ton of other photographers teaching the exact same thing, I come back to the same point. You may not like them, or their teaching style, or the community that they've built. Or you might feel like it's such a big community that you just feel lost in it, so you don't even bother asking the questions that you want to ask. We all have so much to learn ourselves, but we also have so much that we can teach and share with others. This is a working smarter, not harder idea, and I think it's something that anybody can do. Creating a book for your local town is an excellent idea. It gives you the ability to get some exercise, to improve your photography skills, to meet some other people in your local community, to learn more about your town, to take the kids with you, to network. Like, I see this as a total win. Everybody's winning in this entire situation. So number 8 is make a book. And then number 9 is create prints to go with that book. Basically, you don't even need to print them out yourself. The prints could literally exist only on your website. And if people see your book, then they can order prints from the website directly from the book. So you're not putting up different pictures, you're using the same images, but you're repurposing them. And then number 10, following on from that, we're talking about things like calendars or postcards, Christmas cards, things like that, items that still fit in with the photography that you've already taken that other people from your local town will want to buy as well. So that's one lot of photography for you. Not that I'm saying that it's a small task making a book about your town, but if you made a 40 or 50 page book, that's actually not a huge amount of photos. And there's a ton of printing companies online these days that will print your books. So you might be able to find a local retailer, or you might be able to find a print on demand. So that way as well, you don't have to buy like 100 books and hope that you sell them. You could pretty much print them as they're requested. And again, going with the smarter, not harder theory, you could also sell these at like the Saturday morning markets in your local town. Most towns have some form of Saturday morning market or Thursday evening market. So coming up to Christmas, it's really a great gift idea actually for people that don't live in your town anymore. I know for myself, most of my friends have moved out of my small town, and so just send them a book or a postcard or something that reminds them of home. It's a lovely gift to give somebody. And here's the thing, let's say that you make these books and you decide to give a couple away. You could give one to your local library, one to your local medical center, basically anywhere that you think people will be sitting in town that would be picking up a book and flicking through it while they're waiting. It's a really lovely way to share something that you've created for your local town, but it's also a great way, like other people might see it and go, how do I get a copy of this book? I want to send it off to Great Aunt Petunia for her 96th birthday. You know, so there's many facets of how one product can then be taken in many different ways. Number 11 is Christmas minis. I think that mini sessions are a great way for those of us that don't specifically want to be obligated to be photographing all year round, can still have the opportunity to do small sessions with people. And Christmas minis with kids can be so much fun. I did this a couple of years ago and some of the characters that came through were absolutely wonderful. Now the problem that I had was that I totally underpriced myself. I sold them for $25 for a package, which was a half hour to an hour session, and then I could never stick to the 5 images that were promised, so for most people they had like a gallery of like 50 images, which is 4 or 5 hours worth of editing, especially when you have little people in the middle of summer, because obviously our Christmas is in the middle of summer, so we have, you know, itchy bites and bruises and things like that to edit out. So I'm definitely going to be doing that again this year, but I will be altering my packages a little bit this year because $25 for 5 or 6 hours work doesn't really add up very well. And while you're at your local Saturday morning market selling your cool local books and things, you can also put up an ad to your Christmas minis, so you could be taking bookings while you're there as well. And last but not least, number 12 that I want to personally try this year is merchandise. It sounds really silly, but I've always loved other creators' merch. There's something about it that just makes you feel like you're part of a community. And it's a great way to support other creators as well. I mean, is there something that you've always wanted to create? Is there a logo that you really like that you've designed somewhere, or one of your favorite photos, and you could just share it? Anyway, it's such a fun option and I can't wait to do it myself and learn about it and then share it with you guys. Now you may have noticed I haven't included things like presets or LUTs in this video, and that's because I'm just not there yet. You could also do things like edit photos for other photographers, or you could open your studio one day a month to do corporate headshots for the local businesses. There are really a lot of options when it comes to being a photographer and being able to work from home and being able to work around a schedule that works for you. This year has definitely been a huge year for me, but that was one of the reasons that I kind of wanted to batch the things that I was doing, such as doing stock, but doing photography, videography, and AI, rather than picking and choosing things that kind of didn't have a common denominator. So what else can you do when you're a home-based photographer, even if you're just starting out? I'd love to hear your thoughts and suggestions in the comments section. And while you're there, if you could do all the YouTube things, like if you got this far, subscribe if you want more content like this in your home feed, and while you're there, hit the notification bell if you're the kind of person that needs to know things first. And other than that, I'll see you guys in the comments.